Hi there, I'm Molly.
And I'm Jamie, and this is our From the Pasture with Hired Hand podcast.
For 15 years now, we've been proudly helping breeders promote hundreds of thousands of pedigree livestock with our easy-to-use animal management-driven website software.
And let's not forget about Hired Hand Live, where over $1 million worth of livestock is sold online each year.
We're excited to bring you market trends, sales data, advice from your fellow breeders, and stories from the ranch.
Our software makes managing your website and your animals a breeze, so you can focus on what you love.
So let us handle your digital chores while you tune in to another episode of From the Pasture with Hired Hand. Welcome back to From the Pasture with Hired Hand. Today's episode is a special one. We're celebrating the 2025 National Longhorn Futurity Race Champions. The NLFR, created by Huntington Sales, tracks points from futurities across the country all year long to name the highest scoring heifer and bull in the nation. It's a program that brings breeders together, rewards consistency, and keeps the excitement going from one show to the next. We're proud to shine a spotlight on both of this year's champions and the breeders behind them. Up first on today's podcast is Danielle and Mershon of Whistling Longhorn Ranch, whose homebred heifer, Heads I Win DSM, also known as Jade, claimed the title of 2025 NLFR Champion Heifer. Danielle wasn't able to attend the championship in person, but watched it all unfold on Hired Hand Live. Proof that technology keeps this community connected, no matter where we are. Then, in today's second segment, we'll be joined by Jeff Wilson, co-owner of M7 Double Jack, the 2025 NLFR Champion Bull bred by Wayne and Joanna Manning. Danielle, welcome to today's podcast, and congratulations again on an incredible year. So Danielle, take us back to that moment. You're watching the championship remotely on Hired Hand Live. What went through your mind when you heard Heads I Win DSM announced as champion heifer?
I was in shock. I honestly couldn't believe that my heifer had made it that far. I mean, I really didn't think she would get past that first level. So every level she passed, it just got me more and more excited. And when they called that final as the winner, I just was in complete shock.
What was your first reaction? Were there happy tears? Did you have to immediately call someone? What did it look like at your house that day?
I immediately ran downstairs and woke my husband up from a nap and said, "She just won it all." So I think I had to say it out loud in order for it to actually be real in my mind. And even to this day, it still seems very surreal to me.
Well, you mentioned in your Facebook post that we saw afterwards that you were shocked and excited, and kind of reiterated that just now. But looking back now, a few weeks after, what made this particular win feel so special to you? Because obviously you have had a lot of wins before in the show arena. This one's just a little different.
Yeah. Well, a lot of it is I've never really had something as grand as this be presented to one of my animals. But the other thing that really meant a lot was this was an actual animal that I bred and raised that was there competing. And to know that I had something that I bred and raised meant a lot to me.
Well, for listeners who haven't met her yet, tell us about Jade, which is what you call, that's her nickname as I understand it.
Yes, that is her barn name.
Her barn name, I like that.
And actually, her name comes from because she was the result of an AI, and I had used conventional semen. So part of it was the day she was born. I wasn't out at the pasture. My aunt was, and she said it was colorful. So I was like, great, that's a fantastic thing. And then the next thing, I was like, okay, it better be a female because, all those pretty ones are usually end up bull calves. And when she sent me the text that it was a female, it was just kind of like a coin toss at that point. First I get colorful. 2, I get a heifer on top of that. So the Heads I Win was kind of like your heads and tails of a coin flip. And since she was out of HL Heads Up, I wanted to kind of incorporate that name into it as well.
And so then how did she get her nickname Jade?
I've always liked the name, and I wanted something short and easy to remember at the pasture, and I didn't have one that sounded like that already.
So you told us a little bit about the day she was born. Did she start to stand out to you early on? Did she start to bloom as she went through her first few futurities? Tell us about that.
I was always impressed with how she was developing. I've talked to several people about her, and it's like, to me, she's not extreme in any one department. She doesn't have the most horns. She doesn't have the most size. She doesn't have the most body. Just the way she was put together, I felt was just a really complete feminine package. And actually, the first couple of her fraternities that she went to, she didn't do very well. She was her very first fraternity. She had just turned 6 months old and was one of the youngest in the whole fraternity. So that kind of, I think it was like a 3-month gap that she was in. So a lot can change, especially on those young heifers in 3 months. And so she was near the bottom on that one. And then the second one, she kind of was not quite half in her placings. And then as the year went on, she progressively started doing better and better. And she's won her class at a couple of fraternities this year too. So that was always exciting.
So was there one fraternity during this 2025 season where you remember thinking like, okay, she really is something special, or you kind of started to get more confidence about her as well?
I just saw the way she was developing and really liked her. And there wasn't like one turning point fraternity. It's when she was starting to get more consistent in the fraternities, like with her placings and how she did and everything. That's when it was really like, okay, maybe we've got something here. And then I had several people come up and tell me, that was a really nice heifer after she walked out of the ring on several of them too.
So for those listeners who might be new to fraternities, can you explain what the judges are typically looking for in a heifer and how Jade kind of fits that ideal?
I can't speak for all judges, but in general, what they are looking for is the overall structure and conformation of an animal, and that's the way they're put together. They look for color, they look for horn. If they're definitely, if there's an animal that comes in there wild and crazy, they're not typically, that's not going to end well on that aspect either. But the overall just completeness of an animal, they want the females to look like females, they want the bulls to look like bulls. So that's really taken into account for it.
How important do you feel that the shape or the growth of her horns are when it comes to the different types of judging and the different types of fraternities?
It depends on your judges. Some people really enjoy the total horn, and they'll are more willing to accept some of your more up horn directions, especially in the younger classes. But I think as a general consensus, they kind of want them as lateral as possible with a good swoop or kickback behind the head to kind of indicate future horn growth. But I think the horn growth in general is definitely a personal preference as far as if you want more of the lateral straight, or if you want a little bit more shape, and up horns are okay if you want that total horn.
And what type of horns does she have now, or what type is she growing into that you feel that she'll have in maturity?
I think she will end up rolling out really nicely. Hers aren't completely lateral, but they go up slightly, but they kick back behind her head really hard. So I'm thinking that she will continue to have those grow laterally and just kind of do a real nice roll, which is what her mother did at that same age.
Well, let's talk a little bit about her mom and her dad. So who are her sire and dam, and what are some of their traits that made you decide to use them and pair them together with the AI work that you mentioned?
Well, her sire is HL Heads Up, and I really like the completeness of this bull. He really produces a nice bodied, conformationed animal. He also has more than enough horn for me. I like his females. I like what I see out of his calves, and that's a lot of reason why I ended up using Heads Up as a AI sire, is because I look for those progeny and say, okay, do I like what I'm seeing or do I not? And then I also do studying because her dam is HL Double Shot of Brandy, who is a HL Double Barrel daughter that goes back to Cowboy Tough Checks. And so when I was planning this breeding, I was really kind of going back and studying genetics and saying, okay, what would cross well with this combo? And I was kind of watching to see what stuff was happening in the sales, what stuff was happening in futurities. And I just really liked that combination that I kept seeing was that double barrel and Heads Up combo. And so I decided to give it a shot, and it was well worth the effort for that.
I would say for sure. Do you see her as a foundation female for your herd down the road, or are there future goals that you're already dreaming up about her future futurities or her offspring?
For Jade, or for my heifer?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I am planning on retaining her at least for a little while. I do think she is going to be one of my foundation animals, but a lot's going to be, let's see what she produces too. If everything according to genetics works out, then I think she will be a very strong producer. I am into making works of getting her mother AI back the same way. So hopefully I can get a full sibling to her in this coming year.
Do you think you'll get as lucky as another flashy heifer twice?
If I get a heifer, I don't care if it's solid. But I'm really hoping for a similar outcome.
Well, let's talk a little bit about preparation and consistency. For folks who haven't done the futurity season, it can feel very long. What does it take to keep a heifer like Jade performing well all year? Let's talk about feeding, handling, even your mindset as the owner with, some back-to-back weekends or their travel that's involved.
Well, with her, I have like one area that I keep all my young heifers at, and they all get kind of fed the same amount, so they kind of have to kind of fight. It's all in a trough, so they kind of have to help themselves to that. And I'm one that if I know I'm going on a long haul, I don't mind giving a little bit extra just so they have the little bit of weight to lose for the travel. But I keep all my heifers together that are equivalent as far as age-wise. And then about 2 weeks prior, I usually kind of trim up the hair a little bit, make sure they're not too shaggy looking. And with her, she's also one of my halter show animals. So I do a combination of just halter work with her and then just working her just being non-haltered as well, just so that she gets used to the noises, the sounds, the different environments. That way she doesn't come in and be like, oh my God, what's happening type situation. And she's really done well, and she's traveled a lot this year for me.
When you look back, do you think there was one thing that was the biggest difference in keeping her consistent across so many shows and futurities?
I think it's just staying consistent with feeding and just upkeep and care.
Tell me a little bit about the turning point when you realized that she might be in contention for the overall NLFR title. Maybe tell me about when she got into the bracket that started it and everything.
I mean, in all honesty, I never thought she would get that far. Because she's 13 months old. She's just a baby herself, and she was going up against females that were at least a year, if not older than her. And so it was just, I was taking the little wins as they happened. So even in that very first time she went into the arena, when they said she was advancing, right there was just a big win for me. And then as she advanced through the levels, I just kind of sat there and I was like in disbelief. I mean, I'm excited, but I was in kind of disbelief about it too. And then when she got into the final four, I was ecstatic at that point that she had made the final four. And so it just, that excitement and that excitement just carried on and just increased as everything went to the end.
Well, I thought it would be appropriate for the podcast today to play a little, have a little competition since we're talking futurities. So I made up a little game called Futurity Forecast. I would like to toss out a few predictions and you tell me how you think your heifer would handle them. Does that sound okay? All right. So if Futurities were a reality TV show, what kind of contestant would Jade be? Would she be the confident frontrunner, the underdog who surprises everyone, the cool competitor? Which type do you see her as?
I think she would be the underdog.
So if she could send a thank you card after her championship season, who or what would she write it to?
Who or what? I actually don't know.
Are there any breeders who mentored you this year a little more than normal? Is there maybe like your feed supplier or someone that you feel like really helped a lot? Anyone you can think of?
I mean, all of this kind of, the result of her all ended up with me talking to Mike Willinger about buying her mother. So if it wasn't that option to start with, then I don't think I would have ever had this opportunity. And my feed, I love my feed to death. It's not a super hot, it's a real light protein mix that I use that they've been on for years now. And it's at a local chain feed that's here, and it's made by Purina, so it's done really well for me. And then I've had several. I know I had Eve Sabio when I first got her halter. She needed a little bit more desensitizing to noises and environments and that type stuff. So I actually sent her with Eve for probably about 3 weeks or so, just so that she could have the time to really put into her and expose her to all kinds of noises and environments, and really kind of break that nervousness out of her. Because when she first started, she was a little bit more nervous. And I think through the work of all of that, she has really my heifer has actually built her confidence up so that when she comes into the arena, she knows exactly what she needs to do and she doesn't get nervous or anything. So I think that's helped a lot.
Nice. So that'd be 3 different thank yous she'd be sending out then.
Yeah.
Every champion deserves a theme song. What song would play when she walks into the ring?
That is a tough one. Let me think on that one. I would have to really think about that.
All right. We'll circle back to it at the end.
Okay.
Here. I feel like it's hard. I put you on the spot. Songs are hard, right? Because you want to get the perfect one.
It is, and there's so many different tastes in music that it's like, it's hard to pick that one that actually just fits her completely.
Well, let's change gears a little bit here. What does winning the NLFR championship with a homebred heifer mean to you personally?
It means I did something right. I guess there's always those things where you second guess, are you doing what you need to do? Is it turning out the way it needs to be done? And so it just proved to me that, yeah, I guess I do know what I'm talking about a little bit and what I'm looking for. And this was kind of like a reward for me believing in myself and believing in my program.
How do you think that programs like the NLFR motivate or benefit breeders throughout the year?
I think it really helps motivate, just because if it's great to have an animal that wins and does well, it means so much more when it's an animal that you bred and raised. So I think these futurities give that opportunity to really showcase what you bred and raised and give you that spotlight for it too. Like I said, I've had animals that haven't done well, but I wasn't necessarily the breeder, and it means a lot, but it doesn't mean the same.
For those folks listening who are thinking about entering into their very first futurity next year, what's one piece of advice you'd give them?
Don't get discouraged. Just remember, it's a matter of judging, and you can have one group of judges that like your animal, and then you could have a completely different group of animal that judges that doesn't like the animal. So I just say, ultimately, if you like her, that's a big win to start with, but not to get discouraged, because who knows how it's going to turn out 6 months down the road.
What about any advice for how to go about picking an animal out of their pasture to enter in futurities, or what to look for if they're looking to purchase an animal to put into futurities?
Don't be afraid to ask people's opinions, and don't get offended by those people's opinions either. I can sit and critique my herd all day long, and I'm quite brutal with that. So you kind of have to look at your animals with a critical eye. And if you don't know if you have two animals in the same class, but you don't necessarily want to take both of them, look at them. Get a couple people's opinion on it. See what they say. And, or if you decide to take, both of them at the same time, take it. And then as the year progresses, if one does better than the other, you can leave the other one at home. So I try to give most of my heifers the opportunity to go to at least one or two futurities, just to kind of see where they sit. And then the ones that kind of rise to the top are the ones I usually continue with.
How many animals did you typically take to your futurities this year?
This year, I've actually been pretty heifer poor. I've only taken 2 this whole year, and she was my only bred and raised one. And then I had one that was a year older that I took as well. But I only had 2 of my own that I was hauling to futurities this year. So I felt like that was a very light load for me in comparison.
Well, when you look ahead to next futurity season, what are you most excited about? Not only just if you're going to keep exhibiting her, but for your program overall.
Well, I am going to be planning on taking her to futurities again next year, because she still has another year to go. But I really sat back and looked at my own heifers this year, and I am making a pact that the only animals that I'm bringing to futurities are ones that I bred and raised, because she gave me a lot of faith in my program and some confidence to go behind it. So I want to see what my breeding does in the futurity ring.
That's awesome. You and I have known each other for quite a while, and I think it's really exciting to see, like if we look years and years back at some of the sales and futurities we were at, I think as an outside person, I've seen your confidence grow as well. And to have you have a homebred animal, one that you've picked out the breeding on and won with, it's so cool to see that happen for you. And so Jamie and I are very excited for you, and just can't wait to see what the future holds after this as well.
I'm pretty excited about it. So, like I said, it's really given me the confidence to say I don't necessarily have to go out and buy an animal to take to futurities, that I do have stuff that can compete.
Do you think it's hard for folks to be that patient? I mean, because it's been years and years that you've been working on this, right?
Yes, I definitely think there's a level of patience for it. And when you come to my herd, I only have about 20 producing mama cows at any time, and give or take at least half those calves are bulls. When you start weaseling it down to what animals that I even have that could be eligible to go, compared to some people who might have a herd of 50 mama cows that have double or triple the amount of heifers to choose from, it kind of makes it a little bit difficult. So that's where the patience kind of has to come in, because you're not always going to do well. You're not always going to win, but if you just kind of pursue and do what you want, eventually it'll pay off.
All right, I'm going to circle back to that dreaded question before we end here. Have you thought of a song?
Honestly, the first song that came to my mind was the Katy Perry song, "I Have a Tiger."
Oh, there you go. That's a good one.
That was the first song that I thought about.
I can picture it. I like that one. Danielle, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing Jade's story. Congratulations again on your NLFR Champion Heifer title. Listeners, you can see photos and the full pedigree of Heads I Win DSM on Danielle's hired hand-powered website at whistlingtxlonghorns.com. That's whistlingtxlonghorns.com. And if you missed the live championship, you can visit the social media pages for both Hired Hand Live and the NLFR to see stats from throughout the year as well as photos from all the events. Stick around, because coming up next, we're going to meet one of the partners behind M7 Double Jack, the 2025 NLFR Champion Bull, and hear how their year also unfolded.
And now a word from our sponsors.
Looking for top quality Longhorns and a taste of true Texas spirit? Look no further than Cantera Cattle Company. Our passion for Longhorns shines at Old Gringo Ranch, where tradition meets excellence. Visit us online at CanteraCattleCompany.com and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok for the latest updates and ranch life fun. Ready to experience it yourself? Schedule your visit by emailing canteracattle@gmail.com. Remember, God is great, Longhorns are good, and life is crazy.
Planning a live auction and want to reach more buyers? Hired Hand Live brings the power of the internet to your event, allowing bidders from anywhere to participate in real time. We specialize in integrating online bidding seamlessly with your live auction, ensuring that no one misses out.
Your livestock plus our technical expertise equals one successful auction. Let Hired Hand Live help you expand your reach and maximize your results. Visit hiredhandlive.com to learn more.
From the Pasture by Hired Hand is presented by R3 Hilltop Ranch. Located in Chilton, Texas, R3 Hilltop Ranch has been breeding registered Texas Longhorns since 2006. What began as 3 heifers has grown into our current herd, which you can explore on our website at r3hilltop.com. We're passionate about loud colors, longhorns, and docile temperaments, but it's the easy-keeping, low-maintenance traits of Texas Longhorns that initially attracted us and continue to drive our herd growth. In addition to livestock, we proudly offer certified Longhorn beef products. Visit r3hilltop.com/beef to learn more. Thank you for listening, and enjoy exploring our ranch online at r3hilltop.com.
Do you sometimes feel like you're the only one who doesn't have it all figured out? Rural life can be isolating, but it doesn't have to be.
Welcome to Ag's Most Okayest Farm Girls, the podcast for women who are craving connection, laughter, solidarity, camaraderie, and just overall encouragement in your everyday life and dreams.
Each week, your hosts, Annalise, that's me, and Courtney will cover topics such as farm life, mom life, making money online, side hustles, hobbies, sharing on social media, jobs off the farm, and so much more.
Us rural gals need to stick together, so saddle up for some fun, real, and unsolicited advice and stories from our everyday farm lives.
Grab a drink, we're Ag's Most Okayest Farm Girls, and we're here to help. Listen wherever you find podcasts.
When it comes to buying and selling livestock, trust is everything. At Hired Hand Live, we have a platform that breeders and buyers rely on, whether participating in a live auction, an internet-only event, or hosting their own online auction. Our secure, user-friendly system ensures that your bid counts, and every transaction is backed by our commitment to integrity.
Whether you're a part of a consignment sale or planning your own internet auction, Hired Hand Live connects breeders and buyers live and online. Discover why breeders trust us with their livestock auctions. Visit hiredhandlive.com today. What a great story that was, and such a deserving win for Danielle and Heads I Win DSM. One of the things that makes the National Longhorn Futurity race so special is that it recognizes consistency and excellence all year long across every futurity and every region. And on the bull side of that same leaderboard, another standout made his mark this season, M7 Double Jack. Owned in partnership by Jeff Wilson and Jimmy Jones and bred by Wayne and Joanna Manning, Double Jack impressed judges all year with his balance, structure, and ring presence, ultimately earning the title of 2025 NLFR Champion Bull. Jeff is here today with us now to talk about Double Jack's journey, his pedigree, and what this championship means for their program. Welcome to From the Pasture, Jeff, and congratulations on your NLFR win. So Jeff, congratulations again. Let's start at the championship. What was that moment like when you heard M7 Double Jack had just been named the NLFR Champion Bull?
I don't know that words can put it in context. It was a very long year, and it was just unbelievable excitement. Very, very proud to be part of what we kind of dubbed him as the M7 Double Jack team. So it was fantastic.
So you've been involved in a lot of shows and futurities. What made this win stand out or feel a little bit different from others?
Well, this was the combination of all the futurities throughout the year, and the top bulls in the breed, from the first year bulls and the second year bulls were all there. And so to have won, this futurity was just extremely humbling and gratifying. Kind of set it apart because everybody was there.
So for those folks listening who may not have followed or might not be familiar with the NLFR all throughout this past year, can you share what it takes to keep a bull consistently competitive across so many futurities?
I guess, first of all, nutrition. We started off the year in March at the Winchester, and by the time June rolled around, we could tell Jack was starting to get a little thin, and we pretty much changed our whole nutrition program in the middle of the summer, and it paid huge dividends. He put a lot of miles on, but it kept him in shape. He looked fantastic at the end of the year. And I would say the biggest key is nutrition.
Can you tell us a little bit about his nutrition program, or is that top secret information?
We definitely switched. I'll just say we went with something that had a little higher fat content in it. I don't know that there's any trade secrets here or anything that we're trying to protect, but I know we definitely increased his fat content in his food, which really seemed to pay off.
Well, tell us a little bit about Double Jack himself. When people see him in person, what do you think the first thing they usually notice about him is?
He's very large. He's a big boy. The second thing, if the lighting is right, some of the facilities have beautiful lights, and you can really see the purple and the blues in his color. But definitely his structure stands out. He's a behemoth as a bull. And then, lastly, he's playful. He's just a fun animal, bull, Longhorn to be around. Yeah, he's got quite a disposition on him.
What stood out to you about him as a young calf or at the age when you purchased him that, you thought he might be something special?
I was hoping you were going to ask that question because it allows me to give all the credit to Mr. Wayne Manning, M7 Longhorns. We were visiting Wayne in the summer, my wife and I, and we was in Wayne side by side just going across one of his pastures. And my wife gets all the credit for noticing Jack standing out in the pasture as a 2-month-old calf. And I'll never forget looking at Wayne and asking him, I said, that has got to be a Cactus Jack calf. Just his colors were identical to his dad. And Wayne said, yeah, sure is, but he's a bull. And so Mr. Jimmy Jones had mentioned to me about 4 months ago that if he could AI to any bull, it would be definitely Cactus Jack. And so when Wayne told us that that was a bull and it was out of Cactus Jack, the light bulbs went off. But Jack pranced around that pasture like he owned it at 2 months of age, and he just held his head high. You could see the frame on him already at just 2 months of age. 3 months of age, he definitely had a lot of leg, but it was the way he just held his head and had that sense of ownership of that pasture. It all clicked right then and there for us.
So you mentioned Wayne, you mentioned Jimmy. Tell me about how the partnership and the purchase came to be.
Well, we went back to our hotel. We were actually in Fort Worth picking up a trailer, and Wayne was kind enough to give us a quick tour of his property and everything. We had a great afternoon with him. And so when we left Wayne's property, we went back to the hotel and we were talking about it. And I spent the evening texting Wayne, asking him if he would sell us the little calf at the time. And so Wayne agreed, and we were just on cloud nine. And we texted Mr. Jimmy Jones on the way home and told Jimmy we were gambling on a young calf. And Jimmy's response to us was, it's not gambling when you have two aces in the hole. And so Wayne was just incredible to work with. And he sent us pictures all summer, and I kept forwarding to Jimmy and showing Jimmy what this little calf was doing. And we ended up going back out in November to pick Jack up. And Mr. Jimmy Jones asked us if there's any way that Montgomery, Alabama was on our way home. And we told him, well, it sure can be. And so Jimmy told us he really wanted to see what that bull calf looked like. And we met Jimmy on the side of a road at 10 o'clock at night. We had to put the lights on the inside of the trailer. And Jimmy hopped up in there and didn't say a word. He just had his hands on his hip, looking. And when it was all said and done, he said, we done pretty good. And it was a very easy decision to partner with Jimmy on this bull. He's been a great mentor to us, and we're just proud to have his name, beside ours on the ownership.
Well, you talked a little bit about his sire. Can you tell me a little bit about the dam?
Sin CP is, she's a big frame, beautiful cow. Obviously, when we saw Jack, she was standing right there, and she had great depth, beautiful rolling, twisted horns. She's a she's a granddaughter to Tempter. And something about that bloodline crossed with Cactus Jack has just been a total home run. We are very, very excited. He's done really well in the show ring, and we're looking forward to seeing what he does in the pasture, his calves in 2026.
So tell me a little bit more about that. Who are some bloodlines you're planning to cross him with, to breed him to? How does he fit into your long-term breeding goals?
Right now, he's been with about 10 heifers. So I think the first calves out of Jack will be coming in April. The thing that both Jimmy and I are so excited about is the 2025 points champion, Horseshoe J. Isabel, and Jack are expecting. So that is something we're both extremely excited about. And then also Jack will be with Jimmy's herd when in 2026 for when Jimmy's ready to have all of his herd bred. So Jack will be doing all that.
So besides the pairing you mentioned with the High Points heifer, is there any within your own herd that you're really excited about, or are you just excited for everything?
We're just thrilled to see what he does. We've got quite a few hanging tough daughters out there. We're just excited about everything. All the heifers, the cows. My partner Jimmy says he's got to throw that rear end, and Jack has his rear end is something special. I don't know how to phrase it. So
you didn't think you'd be talking about bull butts on a podcast today, did you?
We're hoping he passes that along. He's a pretty special bull.
Well, for listeners who might be new to fraternities and competition, can you explain what you think the judges are typically looking for in a bull and what traits Double Jack carries that made him stand out besides some of the ones you've already mentioned, obviously?
Oh man. It's kind of hard to quantify. I've heard several judges use the word presence in the ring. Jack has always holds his head high. Obviously horn set in this breed is horn length and set is extremely important. Size, conformation, color, and then obviously on a bull, the reproductive area, shall we just go with it.
Was there a point during the year when you kind of thought he just might have a real shot at taking the overall title? Was there a futurity that was a turning point or anything?
Molly, to be honest with you, we started the year off, and this was our third year. Last year, I think we attended 5 or 6 futurities, and we started this year at the Winchester, and every year, the second year, we just didn't want to finish last. And, then we had the next goal of, maybe getting a check, finishing in the money. And so this year, it kind of all started with, we just wanted to win a buckle. I know it doesn't sound like much, but it's the progression. And at the Winchester, we were fortunate enough, Jack won his class. And the Bluegrass was next. Jack won his class there. And it kind of snowballed. In the middle of the summertime, you could see him continuing to put on weight and size. He didn't have a lot of early horn growth, but in the summer, he really took off with the horns. And so we did not expect this at all. it's just a total shock and blessing, and we're extremely honored and humble about all of this. We kind of, as the year wound down and he won High Point at the Horn Showcase, my wife and I both looked at each other and thought, who knows, maybe there's a chance. So just very, very blessed.
Well, bulls can sometimes be a little trickier than heifers when it comes to travel and futurities and being in the ring. How do you prepare a bull for consistent performance and conditioning throughout the season? I know we talked a little bit about his change in feed, but are there other things that you did to prepare him for that long futurity season?
He's, I guess the word is character. I would open the gate, and he spent the summer with all the weaned bulls, and I would open the gate, and Jack, not one time ever did I have to coax him out of there. I'd open the gate, and he literally would run to the trailer and jump in the trailer before I could even get down there. He's notorious for playing in the dirt. Like I said, he's got a wonderful disposition. There's several pictures of the hole he dug at Dan Huntington's house when waiting to go to the Futurity or into the show ring. But there wasn't any preparation because I think the bull enjoyed it. He always came into the ring with a jump. He was excited. As far as his health was concerned, we definitely kept a close eye on him, make sure he wasn't getting run down. But this bull loves to go to the show ring.
How do you think that programs like the NLFR help showcase bulls like Double Jack and connect breeders from across the country?
The NLFR has been incredible. I can't express my appreciation to Huntington Sales and all the people that work there. I know a lot of the time is on their personal time, but as a new breeder, it is the best way for a new breeder to make connections with other breeders, for other breeders to meet the new breeders. It also lets everybody see what type of Longhorn you're interested in producing. There's no better way to get your name out than to attend these futurities. And I think that NFLR brings it all together. I think it's just fantastic.
What advice would you give to breeders who maybe haven't participated in a futurity before, who are on the fence or thinking maybe that next year will be their year that they'll, kind of test the waters?
The very first futurity that Marsh and I attended, we finished last in our class. And instead of being upset about it all, we went back and we worked hard. Don't be afraid to go to these things. Everything looks fantastic on your ranch or your farm, and I think it's a best way of evaluating where you're at is by going to these futurities. Not only does it help with your marketing of your program, like I said it 100 times, it's the best way to meet other breeders.
Do you think for folks who are just starting out in futurities, it's easier to show heifers than bulls? Do you think there's a right or a wrong approach to that?
Our first year we showed a bull. The second year we had all heifers. And I guess Mother Nature dictates some of that, or it depends on, what you're purchasing at the time. I don't know that bulls or heifers one is more difficult than the other. We've shown both bulls and heifers. Obviously, this year I'm kind of partial to bulls, but I don't know that there's a big difference there.
Is there any other advice that you would give folks from your futurity circuit experience?
Don't get frustrated. I think we've all heard the stories. I don't understand how Macau didn't do better this week. It did great last week. The system isn't perfect. Everybody's always trying to improve it and work towards making the system as good as we possibly can. The good outweigh any of the deficiencies. But get involved, go. Some of the futurities are a little more pricier to enter. Maybe you only take 1 or 2 animals to that one. Some of the futurities have pretty low entry fees, and it's a great opportunity to evaluate your calf crop against other breeders. And so our suggestion would be just to attend as many as you possibly can. They do a great job for the industry.
So you've talked quite a bit about how, you feel about the win. And I think we touched on how excited Jimmy Jones was as well. Have you heard or do you know what it means to Wayne and Joanna, as breeders of the bull?
Wayne and I have had a great time this whole year. And Wayne would text me a lot of times the week before, the week of, the day of, and ask me how's Jack doing. Ask me if I'm nervous. I know it's meant a lot to Wayne and Joanna. They get, the lion's share of the accolades. I like to say it's been a team. I've been the Uber driver. Jimmy planted the seed, and obviously M7 Longhorns produced him. And so it's been a lot of fun. I always call Wayne as soon as I get the results and let him know or shoot him a text. And we always talk about it. Both him, Wayne and Jimmy, their support and advice and help has just meant the world to us this year. We've been very blessed.
Well, what are the next few months looking like for Jack? I know you mentioned he has been with some heifers. Does he get to relax and enjoy some time off? Is he going to be back on the circuit next year?
He is currently in one of the pastures with, I think there's 10 heifers in there. He's doing what he was made to do. I think we're pretty tired at the end of this year, but we've already started looking at next year. We're definitely going to hit a lot of futurities with him next year. Still working with Jimmy on when he'll be down there doing Jack doing his work down there. So we'll have to see how that schedule coincides with the futurity dates. But we're definitely excited to get back out there and do it again.
Awesome. Well, anything else that you would like to share with our listeners before we wrap up today?
Like I said, we're just extremely thankful to all the people at Huntington Sales for all their hard work. I don't know if the back crews get enough appreciation. All the folks that go into putting on these futurities. I know it's got to be just a ton of work. And so none of it is possible without the people that are putting on the futurities, the guys and the gals that work there. Obviously, Dan and Chase and Joe for all their hard work, hired hand. We're just very thankful to everybody that made this possible.
Thank you so much for joining us, Jeff, and congratulations again on M7 Double Jack's NLFR Championship. Listeners can view Double Jack's pedigree and photos on the M7 Longhorns website at www.m7longhorns.com. A big thank you again to Huntington Sales for creating and supporting the National Longhorn Futurity Race, and to all the breeders who participated this year. If you missed any of the action, we encourage you to go visit the social media for Huntington Sales and the NLFR for photo recaps and more. Thanks for tuning in to this special From the Pasture episode, celebrating the hard work, genetics, and passion that make the Longhorn Futurity world so exciting.